If you're feeling stuck with Instagram growth right now, or maybe just bored of your current strategies, then this video is for you because today I'm going to share with you 3 new ideas and strategies that you can implement to start seeing growth on your Instagram today. Let's get started. The first tip that I want to share with you is all about utilizing the different video features that Instagram offers and how that can help you grow. So many of you still might be nervous about turning the camera around and sharing videos of your face on Instagram, but trust me when I say it is such a great way to connect with your audience, build a closer relationship, and provide value with your content. There are so many different ways that you can share video on Instagram. Of course, we've got our regular feed videos that can be up to a minute long. Then you've got IGTV that can be up to an hour long. You got Instagram Live, which is a wonderful synchronous way to connect with your audience because you can get feedback as you go. And you can share videos up to 15 seconds long on Instagram stories. And of course, you could do a sequence of 15-second videos. Especially lately, I've been seeing an increase in people making IGTV videos and sharing them to their feed, which I think is a really powerful option for growth. Because IGTV videos are longer format, you're able to share more value than you could in just a 1-minute video. Especially if you create a cute cover image that matches the brand of your feed and promises what the content in the video is going to be about, you have a good chance of sharing the value in that video and then getting that video shared to other people's stories, which will give your video more exposure and then potentially grow your account. What I want to encourage you to do with your IGTV videos is not simply use them as a way to repurpose YouTube content or create a preview for a podcast or a YouTube video. I want you to think about how you can create IGTV videos directly for IGTV, because at the end of the day, content that is made for a specific platform and then posted on that platform is always going to perform better than content that is just roughly repurposed from somewhere else. If you post a YouTube video on IGTV, it likely won't perform as well as a video that you made with the intention of posting it on IGTV. The kinds of videos that normally do well on Instagram are ones that are super visual based, so not necessarily videos like this where it's mostly talking head and I'm just presenting information to you. I find that videos that are like time lapses or tutorials, like a step-by-step visual of how a process is done, those kind of things do well on Instagram because so many people on Instagram are not necessarily listening to stories or feed videos with audio. They're probably just scrolling through and they see that video. So if it's really visually based and not just somebody talking and you can't hear them, then it's likely to do better. However, there is definitely a place for talking head videos on IGTV, and I think the best way to make those videos perform well is to make sure that you have a title and a description that really promises what that content is going to be about. So if you can focus on making a super intriguing title that really makes people think, oh, I need to know what she's saying, I really want to hear what she has to say in this, then you might have a chance of getting that talking head video to do well, as opposed to just posting a video and giving it a vague title and description, and then people don't really know what they're getting into. Another good way to make your IGTV videos perform better is to use good search keywords in the title and description and to use hashtags. This kind of information helps Instagram to categorize your content and to figure out who they should show your content to on the Explore page. You might notice if you pop over to the Instagram Explore page that a lot of that content is video. I found over the past number of months, Instagram is trying to promote video content more often, and I think that it is a smart strategy because video content tends to keep people on an app longer. People watch YouTube for hours at a time, people are on TikTok for hours at a time, and so Instagram knows that if they can get people to start watching more video on Instagram, they're likely to spend more time on the app. But here's the catch, and this is why it is a growth strategy that I wanted to share with you. There aren't that many users fully taking advantage of all of the video features on the app right now. Think about all the people you follow and how many of them are actually creating IGTV content regularly. I have to admit, even for myself, I am not creating IGTV content regularly, right? So there's lots of people out here that are posting photos and stories, but not necessarily videos. But Instagram really wants to promote that video content. So what I am suggesting to you here, what my theory is, if you create video content, it's actually more likely to end up on the Explore page or be recommended in the algorithm because Instagram wants to get more people watching video. And if you're creating that video and a lot of other people aren't, then you have a better chance of getting that video seen. Basically what I'm saying is there's just less competition in the video space because less people are doing it right now. So even if it is nerve-wracking for you, I highly suggest starting to do more videos of yourself because it's a great way to connect with your audience, and I think a good growth strategy right now. The next Instagram growth strategy that I want to share with you is creating content that is based in collaborations. Now, in my mind, there's two main ways that you can collaborate, and they're what I call a formal collaboration and an informal collaboration. Let me explain how you can use both of these ways to get more reach on your content. The first kind of collaboration is what I would consider a formal collaboration. This is when you actually reach out to another Instagram creator and make a planned piece of content together. So you each have one piece of content and it fits together with the other person, and you end your post with a call to action telling your followers to go and check out the second piece of the puzzle on your collaborator's profile. There are so many different ways to do this, whether it's you're going to share 10 tips and you each do 5, or you share the first part of the process and your collaborator shares the second part of the process, or there's a lot of different unique ways that you can entertain and encourage your audiences, whether it's if you're a travel account and you're showing how far $20 goes in Paris versus New York. There are so many different creative approaches to this. You really just have to brainstorm what is going to work best for your niche. And again, I love to think about it in terms of either educating, encouraging, or entertaining, and figure out what you can provide and what your collaborator can provide and how that pieces together. And the idea is you provide value and you generate curiosity for your collaborator's content, and that's how you send your audience to go check out their posts, and of course, they do the same for you. So not only are you increasing the reach on your content and helping your account to grow, but you're also helping out your peers and getting your audience to be aware of people that you would suggest that they follow. If you want to do this kind of thing, I would suggest just sending a DM to an account that's in your niche that has a similar number of followers to you and ask if they would like to collaborate. Bonus points if you already know the kind of post you'd like to do with them and you suggest it in your initial message. I think the biggest mistake that a lot of people make when they're first starting to collaborate is to reach out and just say, hey, I'd love to do a collab with you. Let's figure out what it would look like, rather than reaching out and saying, okay, this is the exact kind of video that I want to do. Here's what you would do. Here's what I would do. Does that sound fun to you? Because then not only are you offering your audience's eyes on their content, but you're also giving them an idea for a piece of content that they didn't have to come up with for themselves. So just make sure you have both of those areas covered before you reach out and ask for a collaboration, because otherwise it can feel a little bit like a burden when you get requested to collaborate with someone and they don't have any ideas for you. So that's what I would categorize as a formal collaboration, when you actually reach out to someone and you both create two different pieces of content that then exchange your audiences between that content. The other kind of collaboration that I want to share with you might actually be a little bit more accessible for many of you who are just getting started, and this is what I would determine an informal collaboration. Now, by the way, these terms are just ones that I made up to differentiate these two things, but hopefully it makes sense when I explain it. The idea behind an informal collaboration, the way I see it, is that you can feature the content of somebody else in your niche who you admire and who you want to share with your audience. And not only does it create another piece of content that you can post on your Instagram, it shouts out somebody else in your community that you want to promote, and it can increase engagement on that post because you're going to tag that person. They might comment, they might even share it to their story if you appreciate that you've given them a shout out. So this is a really great way to increase the reach and engagement on a piece of content. Plus, it gives you some inspiration for content that you might not have had before. So here's some examples of how you can do this. Maybe there's a thought leader in your niche that you want to feature and you've read a blog post of theirs or listened to a podcast of theirs recently. You could share a quote from that blog or podcast and create a nice on-brand quote graphic attributing it to them and then tagging them in the image and in the caption. Or if there's some kind of information or experiment that they share in a piece of content, you could create an infographic summarizing that information and again, attributing it to them in the image itself. Another way you can do this and feature multiple creators is do a roundup of some of your favorite creators in a certain niche. You could do a different slide for each person, write a couple sentences about why you like their content and why your audience should follow them, and then of course tag them in that image. There's lots of different ways to do this, but the principle of it is the same across the board. You're featuring the content of somebody you admire and then you are thanking them for it, attributing that content to them, and tagging them. It's really, really important that you always attribute stuff to the people that created it so that you don't come across as copying it or plagiarizing. So make sure that you always have it very obvious where you got the information from. If it's a quote or a summary or 3 points or 3 takeaways from a blog post or a podcast, just make sure you are super, super clear about where you got that information so that the creator that you admire doesn't end up seeing it and feel like that you stole it from them. But as long as you include their name or their username in the actual graphic and you tag them in as many places as you can, it should be very clear where you got the information. And I'm sure the creator that you tag will end up feeling grateful that you got some value out of what they created and that you wanted to share that with your audience. So I call this an informal collaboration because it doesn't actually require that you reach out to the person and say, hey, would you mind if I share a quote from your podcast? Because realistically, if you have a smaller account and you want to feature the content of somebody who has a really large following, you might not actually be able to get in contact with them and actually do a one-to-one exchange collaboration. That just might not be realistic. However, you can always shout out people that you like, share quotes as long as it's attributed to that person, or share the takeaways that you got from a podcast or a blog post. And it's a great way to create a new piece of content, shout out a person that you admire, and increase that reach and engagement. So I really want to encourage you to think about how you could either create a formal or informal collaboration and then integrate that into your regular Instagram content strategy, because I really do think that it is a great way to grow. Plus, it's just a really great way to share the love, build community, make friendships, which is exactly what I think social media is about. The third and final content idea that I have for you is creating super shareable graphics for your Instagram. I know this isn't necessarily brand new, but this method has become super popular again recently, and it is a really great way to provide value to your audience, whether that's through education, encouragement, or entertainment. Over the past couple weeks, we saw a lot of really amazing examples with this, especially around the Black Lives Matter and anti-racism movement, because so many people were sharing very helpful resources in the forms of these graphics. And because of the way they were formatted, it was really easy to spread that information to many people, because you can take that visual, shareable chunk of that carousel and share it to your story and then get more people to go and read the whole thing. So it's a really, really great way of sharing information. And also it's a great way of getting your account in front of more people, because if people click through to look at the rest of the album, they might end up following you as well. So not only are shareable graphics a great tool for education and activism, they're also a wonderful way for you to share value with your audience, whatever it might be that you're sharing. Let's take a look at some examples that I am personally super inspired by to give you an idea of what I mean and maybe give you a few ideas of something that you could try. First up, an account that I want to share with you who does shareable graphics so well is Avery Francis. I actually met Avery through being a speaker at her events, the Sunday Showers, last summer. She is a super cool HR expert and just all around awesome person. Recently, Avery's been sharing some wonderful resources around social justice and anti-racism. Here's an example of an album where she shares things that you should not say to Black women. Not only is this a super helpful and informative carousel, but it also ended up pretty much going viral. It's been shared a ton. I've seen it on lots of my friends' stories. It looks beautiful in her feed with this lovely cover image, and of course she packs a ton of value and education into the following slides. Here's another example of a post from Avery about ways that white people can spend their privilege. Again, super shareable, super helpful, and informative. So definitely go check out Avery and give her a follow, and I think you'll see how well she executes using shareable posts to spread this super important information. Another great account for inspiration when it comes to these shareable graphics is Haley Drew This. Haley's account is all her own artwork and it is all super beautiful. And one thing that I think really makes Haley's shareable graphics stand out is not only the fact that they are hand-drawn and just super adorable, but also that they tell a story. And I think if you're trying to think of ways that you can use these graphics and carousel posts to entertain and encourage, Haley is a really great example of this. I think all of us are pretty familiar with how we can educate by doing like a 5 steps to this or 3 reasons why this kind of post, and you can create like a slide for each reason. But if you're trying to figure out how you can utilize these shareable graphics and carousel posts for content that is maybe more personal or sort of story-based, this is a really great example of it. Through her doodles, Haley shares stories about her life and her family, and it's just a really cool way to see this format being used that I don't often see from other accounts. Plus, she's got a series that is super successful, and it's actually through people sharing these posts that I found her, and that is the different months as people. So she'll do a graphic like this where it's like May as a person and what she would look like, what activities she would be doing. This is really fun because it sort of embodies our collective experience at a certain point in time in the month, but it's also highly shareable because people whose birthday is in that month are going to be excited to share that with their friends and say like, oh, this is my birthday month as a person, like how fun. If you can find a way that people will connect with that graphic and be super motivated to share it with their friends, then that is going to help it be a lot more successful. This is why we see so many Enneagram accounts doing well right now, and that is because people feel so connected to their Enneagram number, which if you're not familiar is kind of a personality type system. So when you see a post that is about your number, you really want to share it because then you can send that message to your friends or followers like, this is me, this is what I'm like. So maybe thinking about ways that you can really connect with people's identities or tell a story through your graphics is just another way to make them perform better in terms of getting shared more often and then creating more organic growth for your account. Another profile that I really want to highlight is Glow Graphics. I found her recently and she creates a ton of super valuable, very informative graphics that are also beautiful. Here are a couple examples of posts she made, such as talking about traveling while Black, different countries, and their attitude towards race. I found this super eye-opening and interesting, and it's also beautifully designed. Here's just a couple more examples of the beautiful work that she does, and I think just by looking at this you can see why it gets shared so much, because not only does it really send a message and provide useful information, but it also just looks really cute. The last account that I want to highlight in this area is Vanessa Lau. Probably many of you who watch my channel are also familiar with her. She's another Canadian who shares information about Instagram growth, and I personally love her channel. And she does an amazing job of creating carousel posts that pack a punch in terms of the valuable information they provide. And recently in one of her videos, she was talking about how she makes these carousel posts. And basically what she was saying is she takes her old content like YouTube videos, blog posts, podcast, and then takes the main points from them and repurposes them into a carousel post such as this one. And I think that is such a great example and inspiration for all of us in terms of taking content that we've already put the time into and repurposing it in a new way that is going to be valuable for people on a different platform. So especially if you're struggling to figure out what kind of shareable content you can make, this is a really great way to do it. So definitely check out Vanessa's account for more examples and inspiration with that. So now you're probably wondering, how can I make these for myself? There's a lot of different ways you can do it. I often make graphics in Photoshop. However, Canva is an amazing free resource that you can use online, and like I said, you can sign up for free. The great thing about it is you can choose a template that is the exact right size for Instagram, whether you want to do an Instagram story or a feed post. They even have templates for carousel posts on Instagram, so you can use go-to formats that are proven to perform well to start building your own content. Just make sure that when you're editing these templates, you adjust them so that they suit your own brand, so then they become recognizable to your followers. Basically, you want to make it so that when they're scrolling through their feed and they see something with your colors and your font, they're likely to stop scrolling and keep on reading because they know you're going to be providing value. The great thing about this kind of content is not only is it valuable and it's a great way to connect with your audience, it's also a really good way to create some organic growth, because if you create something that is very interesting and is very well designed, people are likely to share it to their story or send it to their friends, therefore giving you more exposure to a new audience. So if you haven't tried making shareable graphics already, I highly recommend it. Now that you've got a great content growth strategy down, it's time to make sure that you're doing all the engagement that you can in order to increase your own engagement and get more followers. Check out this video that I made all about how to use engagement to grow your Instagram account. Before you head over there, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of my future videos. And as always, I will see you in this video. So go ahead and click there. Okay, bye.